Welcome, everybody, to the Sport Fuels Life podcast. I am your host, Bill Riddle, and we're continuing our series on the mental performance. And we've got a great guest with us today, Cindra Kamphoff. Thank you for joining us.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me, Bill. I can't wait to talk about mental performance and confidence and all the things.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. Now, I was reading through like all the things you've done, and I'm just going to hit some of the highlights. President, founder of the Mentally Strong Institute, which I probably could use some of that institute right about now. You've been doing this for over 20 years, keynote speaker, executive performance coach, author. We're going to talk about the book you've got coming out, The Confidence Habit, pretty soon here. But let's just start off with I always like to find out what got you to this point and what made you decide, hey, I want to help people mentally.
Great question. So it actually started when I was in high school. So I played lots of different sports, but what I was most talented at was cross country and track. And I won the state championship my senior year and just had a lot of support around me. Didn't really struggle with the mental game when I was in high school, but when I got to college, that's when I really struggled with it. So I got a Division I, a full ride scholarship. And, when you get to college, everyone's just as fast as you are or as talented as you are. And I thought that the way to get ahead was to beat myself up. And that's ultimately what I did. Instead of improving my performance, it decreased my performance. And by my senior year, I literally wanted to quit. So I didn't have the mental tools, and I learned about sports psychology actually just to figure my own self out, and then realized it was something I love and I'm passionate about. And that ended up leading me to my master's and my PhD. And now I live in Minnesota, and I'm the founder of the Mentally Strong Institute, and we work with athletes all day long, one-on-one athletes, leaders. We work with athletic teams, and I'm a keynote speaker now, all about the mental side of sport and business and life. Mm-hmm.
Well, before we kind of get into some of the meat and potatoes and stuff that we want to cover, there's always this assumption, right? And from where I sit as a college tennis coach, there's always this assumption that, pro athletes and the college athlete and then the rec athlete are different in so many ways. But I don't think that that's true. And you've worked with so many different, factions of the sporting world as well as business. Give us your take on the pro versus the amateur versus the college. Are we all the same, or are we different?
I think the struggles are the same. As somebody who's worked in the NFL for many years and work with top level college teams now, I think they still struggle with mindset and confidence and motivation sometimes. I think the pros, they know that they have to train their mind, and that's ultimately what they spend their time doing, as well as getting better at their physical sport. But they know that their mind is essential to success. And sometimes at the college level or even the high school level, people might think it's just for, that's not for them. But even the best college and high school athletes know that their mind is what powers everything they do, right? It powers your emotions, it powers your performance. And so we also know from research in sports psychology that the top athletes stay motivated, can focus in the present moment, and they build their confidence. But confidence is also shakeable, right? Even the pro athletes that you might see, you might think they're always confident 100% of the time, but they're not. They just don't tell people about it.
They hide it better than the amateur.
They
right?
hide, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Been there, done that. Now, you just conducted a research project, the National Research Study on Confidence. Tell us a little bit about some of the things that you found maybe surprising or that came out of that project.
Great question, Bill. So we wanted to really see what was going on nationwide related to this topic of confidence. My book, The Confidence Habit, published by Simon & Schuster, is coming out September 1. And so we surveyed people all over the United States in all different generations. Probably the most surprising stat we found was that 1 in 2 Gen Zers, so a Gen Zer in our study was defined as ages 18 to 29. So we found 1 in 2 Gen Zers consistently or frequently feel like they're not enough. And that's a problem because, Bill, you coach Gen Zers, right? Most of the Gen Zers are college age young professionals. high school. And honestly, we even found the same stat with young millennials, like ages 30 to 35. And so why is this important? Because we found that confidence isn't just a personal issue. Like you might think, well, Bill has to grow his confidence. Cindra has to keep on growing her confidence. But it's actually an organizational issue, meaning that when organizations, the people are more confident, they have better culture, there's more productivity, and there's even an increase in revenue from a business standpoint. And we found different things that leaders do to grow confidence and leaders do to kill confidence. And you can find the study over at confidencetools.com, where you can learn and download the study. I have it here, and there's so much more I can tell you about. We found tangible ways to grow confidence, which we can talk about. We found also that women still scored lower on all markers of confidence compared to men, right? So that just means for us women, we have to be really more intentional about growing our confidence, because it's something we all need to continue to be our best and to reach our goals more quickly.
Well, it's interesting because when you said that, it took me back to what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis, coaching men and women, and almost I feel like some of our guys are overly confident to the point of delusion, where some of our ladies on the team a little bit underconfident, and therefore that tends to be some of the struggle. Is that true, or am I just making this up?
Well, it's definitely like a trend I've seen, where, and I think of arrogance as like false confidence, to be honest. Most people who are arrogant aren't willing to grow and learn, and they aren't open to feedback. And that is a killer to your performance, because you got to learn from your coaches. And true confidence is like, I would say like humility at the same time. And I think of confidence as four things. I see it as a feeling, and that feeling can actually come and go. As athletes, we might get nervous before a competition, and then we interpret those feelings as that we're not very confident. But just by knowing, hey, the feeling of confidence comes and goes, and many times it's like the action of showing up confidently comes first before the feeling. So number one, it's a feeling. Number two, it's a decision we make in the moment. You can show up to be confident. Sometimes you have to fake it, and then you grow confidence. It's a skill you can learn, which is amazing, and it's a belief in yourself. And so it's all those four things, but we do have to keep cultivating it, even as parents, right? And even as parents who are parenting young athletes, and we have to keep growing confidence. Doesn't matter how old you are.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I think you said at one point, sometimes confidence is borrowed before it's built. What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is, who you surround yourself with can grow or decrease your confidence. And you need a dream team of confidence people, right? So you need a cheerleader, someone by your side cheering you on. You need a mentor, someone who is mentoring you along the way. You also need a coach, someone who's going to hold you accountable, that's going to share with you, and give you feedback along the way as well. And I think about how you need a best friend. You need someone who's by your side, listening to your frustrations, maybe your joys, helping you through the ups and downs. And you also need a challenger, someone who isn't afraid to challenge you in a positive, powerful way. So you need 5 people on your team. Again, cheerleader, mentor, coach, best friend, and challenger. And what I mean by, Bill, how confidence is many times borrowed before it's built, I'll share with you an example for me. So when I was in high school, one of the reasons that I was really successful is because my dad would always debrief every race with me and every performance. And we would talk about over the dinner table, like the things that I did really great and the things he thought I could grow in. And I just kept on getting better and better. And many times it felt like he believed in me, honestly, before I believed in myself. And even, in my career, he's always been the cheerleader, the person who has been my biggest fan, and many times I felt like my confidence was borrowed from him before it was built in me. And so this is really important because as coaches, we can be borrowers of confidence. As sports psychology professionals, we can be borrowers of confidence. And I've had many times, even working with professional athletes, there's one woman I worked with leading up to the Olympic Games. And at one point I said to her, I think you can make it to the Olympics. And she was like, Cindra, I think you believe it more than I believe it. And it was true. At that point, I did believe that she could do it. But the great thing is, she kept on talking to herself really powerfully. And there's this really cool video that went viral of every day she said to herself, and she videoed herself saying, like, I will be an Olympian. And then she did it. And so it's borrowed before many times it's built. And this just means that we, even as leaders, as employees, like, it's important that we believe in those people that we supervise, because we are our own worst critics, and many times we are hard on ourselves, and we need people to tell us, yes, you can do it, or I believe in you, or I think that you can go to state, or I think that you can knock this presentation out of the park.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I like how you broke that team up into those 5 different people or individuals that are there to support you. My mind goes back though, because of the most of the folks that are probably watching are from the tennis world, and
sure,
the sport out there. How do you build your own confidence when you're just the one person out there on the court and you feel like you're up against the world?
Yeah, great question. So in my upcoming book, I talk about 7 practices to grow confidence. And I'll share them with you right now, and then we can talk through them. How does that sound, Bill?
Oh, I like that.
Okay.
I'm taking notes now, okay?
Okay. All right. I love it. And by the way, a lot of these are obviously, all of the practices are research backed, and many of them are consistent with our report on confidence. So number 1 is to craft your inner coach. And that means like talking to yourself powerfully. And most of the time we are our own worst critic. And so talking to yourself powerfully, we can talk more about that. And by the way, they all start with C. So number 1 is craft your inner coach. Number 2 is clear your past. And this means you need to have a short-term memory when things don't go great, but a long-term memory when things do go great. You need to continue to remind yourself of your successes, and that's one proven way to grow confidence. Number 3 is to clarify your future. And you need a gallery of goals. You need goals that are outcome focused, like some goals that you can't control, but most of your focus should be on goals you can control, something we would call as the process. But you need a wide variety of goals to reduce your anxiety and pressure. Number 4 is to create your identity. And the cool thing is, once you've identified those goals and what you want to go after, deciding what you need to believe about yourself is key to helping you reach those goals. And our identity, what we believe about ourselves, can be crafted and molded, which is really awesome. Number 5, there we go. 5 is called Capture Your Wins. And this one's all about, like, every day, put a sticky note on a board that is a celebration. And many of the times we measure our success based on where we want to go and the gap there, instead of where we've come and the gain. Number 6 is to claim your emotions. And this means like taking control of your emotions, deciding how you want to interpret how you want to feel. Anxiety and arousal, so being up or down, actually feels the same in our body, but we get to decide how we interpret that as athletes, which is really important. And the last one is compose your winning team. Those were the 5 people I just said that you need on your team, right? You need a mentor, you need a coach, you need a cheerleader, you need a best friend, and you need someone who's going to challenge you. And we need all those people on our winning team. And people around us do make or break our confidence.
That right there, just, I think if people were to note that and keep it in there, especially for like tennis players. Look, if I tell our players all the time, put your notes down in a little scrapbook, keep it in your racket bag. That right there is some nuggets of gold that they can just keep in their bag, and on changeovers or anytime, just pull it out and just kind of read through those.
That's true.
That's really good. So from the book, there was maybe like a favorite tool: learn, burn, and return.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about it, because I'm liking this. I feel like that's a T-shirt in itself. Learn, burn, and return.
It is a T-shirt. So we did make a T-shirt on it. Very cool. All right, let me explain it. Maybe I'll give you an example first. And it's a
Okay.
football story, but it's a good one. So I've spent 4 years working with the Minnesota Vikings as their mental performance coach, and also worked with a player named Adam Thielen, who played for the Vikings. And I started working with him in college. And during a playoff game, he made a big mistake in the game, and he fumbled the ball. Okay, and so he went over to the sidelines, and he puts his fist kind of by his cheek right here, and he pushes it down. Okay, it's kind of like a lever if you're not watching. And honestly, no one knew exactly what he was doing. Besides, I knew because it was something I taught him.
Right.
So he went like this after the fumble and the sidelines. And next drive, he was right back in that fast. And because of this kind of that fast mentality, he caught this 43-yard catch over his head. Absolutely gorgeous. And this play helped set the Vikings up to win the game. And so afterwards, this ESPN reporter named Courtney went up to Adam and said, Adam, what did you do to move on so quickly? And what was this action?
Right.
Okay, I'm a little embarrassed to tell you what he said. But he said, well, I was pretending to flush a toilet.
Oh.
And literally, literally the next day in ESPN, the headline was, mental performance coach taught Vikings Adam Thielen to flush away his mistakes. And so that's why I can tell you the story, because it was written about in ESPN.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was teaching Adam this tool called Learn, Burn, Return. And ultimately, like, learn means we want to ask ourselves, what would we do differently next time? And that next time is so important. The first thing we should do is like, next time I will. Because you can't do anything about what's happened in the past, right? It's over. And we want to think objectively instead of taking our mistake personally. The burn means right after we learn, we got to let it go. And if you choose the same phrase or action every time, that strengthens a new neural pathway. And so literally you can move on that fast. So Adam's was pretending to flush a toilet. Mine is how fast? That fast with a snap. Maybe you want to channel your inner Taylor Swift, and say, shake it off.
Yeah.
But you want to choose the same one every time, because most people I know, Bill, are overthinkers. In fact, in every audience, I ask people to raise their hands and I say, how many of you would say you're an overthinker? And like literally 90% of the audience, no matter if it's an athletic team, a business audience. Yesterday I was speaking to a camp, and honestly, I think the other 10% who don't raise their hand are just overthinking if they should raise their hand. It's like most people who are overachievers are overthinkers. So you can use this tool every time you're overthinking. And again, the snap is, or whatever you choose, you want to choose the same one. I call myself a recovering overthinker because I just work to move on. Okay. And then after you've moved on with a phrase or action, return means you build your confidence back up. You tell yourself, I'm doing the best that I can, or I got the next one. And most people, they stay stuck in the learn. And they ruminate, overthink, and then all of a sudden, their confidence has been decreased instead of, moving on quickly and then returning and resetting your confidence. Most people I know don't know to reset their confidence, and that it's actually something you have to reset after a mistake or a double fall or whatever you might be experiencing.
Yeah. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely borrowing, stealing, whatever you want to call it, the flush the toilet. We're going to be doing that come fall practice. And then I like also that connection there to the Taylor Swift Shake It Off because, I'm in Nashville. She started off here. Her mom
Yes.
is a tennis player who I've spent time
Oh,
on the court
cool.
years ago. So it kind of all kind of comes together in this big circle here. But I love that. So, you've worked with a ton of elite players, athletes, professional at every level. Is there something that the elite or the professional does a better job of when you talk about dealing with pressure? Because pressure
Yes.
is always there on us,
Yeah.
it feels like.
Yes. So great question about pressure. Pressure comes from three things. First, when the outcome is important to us, when we feel judged by the outcome, and when the outcome is uncertain. And you notice, Bill, did you notice what I included in all three of those statements?
I was making
No.
a note here. No, sorry.
No, no, I know you were writing it down. I loved it. So, what I would include in all three of those statements is the word outcome.
Okay.
Okay? And so, think about pressure as a future based emotion, just like our focus on the outcome is a future based focus.
Right.
And why that's important is because when you're playing tennis or even in life, it can be helpful to dream about your future and think about what you want, of course. And that's part of growing confidence, is building your imagery skills. But in the moment, if you're too focused on the future, particularly in tennis, and I've worked with a lot of tennis players, that's why that resetting is so important, and that learn, burn, return. And you might have to learn, burn, return like 20 times while you're playing tennis, right? But pressure comes from this outcome focused idea. And so you're focused too much in the future. So I use this acronym called POP. And I wrote about it in my first book called Beyond Grit, which covers 10 practices of high performance.
Right.
And POP stands for, you can use all three of these tools or just one to reset. So P stands for take a power breath. Just take a breath, maybe even count with it to get back to the present moment. Because that's where you need to be. That's where flow happens. That's where your best happens, in the present. The O stands for opportunity. And this means ask yourself, what's the opportunity right now? And again, what can I do right now? And the right now focus is really important. And then the other P stands for process goals. And this means get back focused on the process. So power breath, opportunity, process. And those three things can help you reduce the pressure. How I would describe it is the best can play free in the moment. And this is actually really hard to learn to play free. But play free means to me no expectations. And you might have some goals for the performance, but you let that outcome focus and those expectations go. And play free means to me play free of worry, play free of judgment of yourself, play like a kid. And your mentality of playing like a kid is actually going to help you reduce the pressure, be in the moment, because flow happens when you're in the present moment. And flow is this undescribable feeling where things go fast or speed up or, ultimately isn't that the best when you're playing tennis and you feel like you're in the flow?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because I know so often I'll say to our players in a match, I need you to play free. I need you to play like it's a practice match. But would you say that there is a very fine line between playing too free and then not being serious enough? Because I always feel like maybe I'm not delivering that message in the right way as a coach to keep them understanding that.
That's an awesome question, Bill. I would say when we don't care, that would be the extreme, right? We don't care about playing our best, or we're not focused on the process, and kind of what I mean by that is one thing you could do is you could have your players write, what are 3 small goals that I want to have for today? Maybe one related to the mental game, maybe one related to the physical game. But you need to have a mental game focus, at least, a goal around the mental game. When I'm teaching teams to play free, what I mean by that is you're still giving your best. You still care about how you're playing, but you're free of judgment. You're reducing that inner critic, that harsh self-talk, and you're letting things bounce off you. You're flexible, you're adaptable, you're loving the game. When I think of play free, I think about, for me, I love to run. And so it's I think of this idea of when I was racing boys in my neighborhood when I was in 4th grade. I tried really hard to beat them. If I didn't beat them, it wasn't I thought I was terrible, or had hard critical self-talk, but it was just fun. It was just enjoyable. And going back to why you play tennis and why you do what you do and what good comes from it and why you're passionate about it can help sustain that motivation and play freer.
That's another. I'm just making notes here to share with our players, and I got a lot ahead of me here. Let's go back to that dream team because
Okay.
my mind keeps going back to tennis players
Okay.
that are out there by themselves, and maybe you don't feel like you have that dream team. You don't have all five of those people there.
Yeah.
What do I do if I look at this and I kind of evaluate and go, okay, I'm missing something. I'm missing a mentor. I'm missing a challenger. How do I fill those gaps?
Well, great question. I would say the first is like set an intention. And if you're like, okay, I don't really have a coach by my side, or I don't feel like I have a mentor, I would say, like, decide, all right, I'm going to in the next 6 months find a mentor. And this is what I want in my mentor. Someone who's maybe just a little bit ahead of me on my journey. They've seen things that you haven't before and they have wisdom to share. So set that intention. And what I find is just like that is the first step. And then look for people, right? If you know you want a mentor, start noticing that. And maybe you meet people further along in your tennis journey, and you don't have to ask them to be your mentor. You might, but it also is just like starting to like, hey, would you like to go get a smoothie with me? Or, hey, do you want to, an adult might say, hey, you want to go for lunch, or do you want to have coffee somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Because the thing is like, you probably just aren't paying attention and intentionally building it. But you think about like the best have people surrounding them who believe in them, and that starts with you believing in yourself first, but setting that intention of having that dream team.
That's I think that's going to be key, and this is going to be one of the things that all of our players are going to have to watch and listen to this podcast right here because there's so many good little nuggets. Kind of bring us home here as we start to kind of wrap up. You mentioned the best, right? And we all see professional athletes. We just got finished watching Roland Garros, and I'll be at Wimbledon in a couple of weeks. So you see the best of the best. What do the best of the best do differently than the rest of us mortals?
I would say they have like a toolkit of mental skills and mental tools. And think about the mental game just like that is like it's something that you have to keep practicing. And no matter how old you are, you have to continue to master your mindset, right? Like I think even now for me, and we have this goal at Mentally Strong to help 10 million people be mentally strong in 10 years. Which is a lot, right? So thanks for having me on the podcast because it's like, hey, I'm helping people be more mentally strong. But mentally strong means to me that you can regulate your emotions, that you can choose your thoughts and your focus, and that you can stay strong in adversity and in pressure situations. And that's what the best of the best do differently is they control what they can control. They realize they're not perfect, and they can be flexible and adaptable. They're resilient, and resilient means you have adversity in front of you, right? And we all experience adversity. I would say that the best of the best are able to do three things differently. They can learn and burn more quickly, so they can have that short-term memory more quickly, and that's important to build your confidence. Number two, they have tools to get back to the present moment, right? Learn, burn, return helps you get back to the moment. Even like a deep mindful breath that you count with gets you back to the present moment. And then number three is they see pressure differently. They pop the pressure, which is something that we talked about, right? They use the mental the tools and skills. And when the pressure is on, like when the stakes are high, they don't have the self-talk saying like, well, this isn't for me. They're like, hey, watch me.
Right.
Like I have everything I need inside me. This is my time, watch me, right? And
Almost
I think
embracing it, right?
almost embracing it, absolutely.
Yeah.
And pressure is something that you can only feel yourself. Like no one else can make you feel pressure or not, right? Many times we feel pressure unconsciously because it's maybe what we're focused on or because it's what we're used to, instead of really intentionally reducing that pressure and realizing the ways that we might be experiencing it or how it's showing up in our body or our mind.
Yeah, I like that. I like it a lot. Now, the confidence habit your new book comes out September 1st. Tell us a little bit
Yes.
about it, and maybe like, is there a way to get a copy early? Like, if you know somebody or you drop my name, can it happen?
That's awesome, Bill.
Yeah.
A couple of things I would say is yes, you can already pre-order it. You can
Okay.
get it anywhere where books are sold, such as Amazon. If you also go to confidencetools.com, we have some amazing bonuses already there if you buy the book. And all you have to do is just tell us where you bought it. For example, we have a workbook that you can download that goes along with the book. This would be incredible to do with your teams, and it goes over the 7 practices of growing confidence. We have a book club kind of study guide so that if you buy the book for like multiple people, you can read it together. And we also have some bulk discounts right now where I'm willing to speak to teams virtually, actually, if you buy a certain amount of books. So you can contact me at cindrakamphoff.com, and I would love to talk to you about that. But also one of the other bonuses is we have a Confidence Summit coming up in August, and you get a free ticket to that. So there's lots of reasons why you want to purchase the book before it comes out September 1, because you get all those amazing things that you can learn from right away.
And, no, you got to tell us, where's the summit going to be? Because I feel like I need to be there.
It is virtual, so that is
Okay.
awesome.
So I
Yes,
can
and
make it.
so you can make it,
Yeah.
and again, you can already get access to that just by going to confidencetools.com. Put in your like where you got the book. Then you're automatically invited to the summit. And the great thing is the summit is virtual, so people are going to be able to join us from anywhere all over the world. And we have 5 other speakers talking about the power of confidence and other ways to keep growing confidence and just like the importance of it. And you know, Bill, confidence is one of the strongest predictors of performance. Some describe it as the number 1 predictor of performance. And so it's something we gotta, you know, I had a football coach tell me yesterday, he was like, everyone wants confidence, but no one knows how to build it. And that's what this book really does, is 7 core practices, over 12 tools, like the nuts and bolts of how do you keep growing your confidence no matter how old you are.
Well, I need everyone who's watching and listening to this to join me for the summit in August, Confidence Summit, because I'm going to be there and you need to be there. So, Cindra, this has been a blast. I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate your time
Of
and
course.
your energy and passion for this. That's the
Thank
big
you,
thing.
Bill.
I can feel it. So, Cindra Kamphoff, author, founder of the Mentally Strong Institute. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Sport Fuels Life podcast.
Oh, it's been awesome. Thank you so much. I loved being here, and keep up the great work as a tennis coach and podcaster, Bill.
Well, thank you. It's a work in progress, so we'll see. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching again, the Sport Fuels Life podcast. I'm Bill Riddle, joined by Cindra Kamphoff. We'll see you hopefully on a court somewhere soon.
Yeah, let's go.